module, I'm going to focus on a big determining factor of your success with difficult students. I want to point out a misnomer. A lot of the time, teachers get the advice to love every kid. I remember sitting in a PD 5 years ago with a presenter who put up in big letters on his screen, "Just love them." And he spent time trying to convince us that if you love the kid enough, all problems will be solved. But unless you're a parent, there's a slim chance that you're gonna unconditionally love the difficult students as they make your job difficult. And let's face it, sometimes love is rejected. So instead of trying to love them, try to believe in them. It's totally different. It doesn't rely on a mushy, gushy feeling inside, and it gives the child direction. Children don't have a strong sense of self yet. They look around to see how others perceive them, and they make a judgment based on that. One of my most incredible students is an example of that. In the 4th grade, I was told that this kid was on a 2nd grade reading level, which he was. And also he had unmedicated ADHD and tore every class to shreds. His mother came over to me at the beginning of the year and told me how much her son hates school, that teachers don't believe in him, etc. I obviously took that with a huge grain of salt, but I was also determined to change the narrative. Besides for being completely firm in my expectations of him, I really showed him how I believed in him. And he mellowed out. I noticed, though, that he still refused to do work. He complained it was hard, it was boring. So I helped him chunk up the learning, and I made an effort to get him interested. I was firm that he finished the work, and I told him that there's no question in my mind that he could complete it in the next 5 minutes. I began also by reading the book Incredible by Nachman Seltzer to the whole class as a pleasant way to show students how to read with expression and to follow a storyline. Oh, and it also got them quiet because I began every day with a few minutes of this story. So this student, who began at a 2nd grade reading level, loved the story so much that he brought his own copy to class and followed along. And then he read ahead. And we didn't have enough time in class to read Incredible 2, which is the second part of the story, so this boy decided to tackle the book by himself. He loved it, and he came back to me to tell me about all the things he read. No one would believe me at first when I said that he was reading that book. It's like a 400-page book, until he started taking that book everywhere, including recess. This student still remembers what happened in that class, and he transformed from the most difficult boy in the entire grade into a hard-working student. In this story, I praised the student for overcoming challenges. I didn't say, "Yay, you completed your sheet." That's an expectation. But rather, "Wow, look how far you've come. You wouldn't have recognized yourself from the beginning of the year until now." Praise should be subtle and deserved. By praising students for overcoming challenges rather than meeting expectations, you get a lot further. Additionally, praise should be discreet and based on potential. I had another student who had terrible anxiety and ADHD. He came into class thinking that I was going to be his enemy, and he was a mess. One of the first days of the year, while the students were at the library, I was grading one of his papers. And when I finished, I started doodling on the back of his paper. I wrote, "Chaim is the best," and I decorated it. Later, when I gave the papers back, I watched him out of the corner of my eye. I remember that him seeing that paper was a turning point. Make no mistake, there were plenty of struggles later, but I needed him to know that I was on his side. Another thing I did for this student was I prepared a few fun sheets that I gave only to him and no one else. Think of ways to get the students to see themselves as you see them. When talking to difficult students, be honest and be meaningful. I can tell you it is so hard to hold emotionally delicate students accountable, but it is a must. And it can be done while simultaneously building them up. Having high expectations, well, really actually just regular expectations, is a way to show them that you don't see them as handicapped. It's super hard to have to lay down a deserved consequence, but it will do the student good because he knows that you will never stop believing in him. The law of reciprocity is a very powerful tool. We humans like to repay kindness with kindness and vice versa. So your superpower is to refuse to be anything other than kind. Now pay attention, here comes the clincher. You learned about classroom management. In order for this to be successful in your room, you need a plan for how these techniques will work in your classroom. And then don't lose focus during the year. In order to give yourself momentum, make monthly check-ins. I've attached a questionnaire from one of the biggest experts on classroom management, Dr. Howard Knopf. Score yourself on how you feel you're doing and on what you see that you need to work on during the year. I would like to offer ongoing individualized consultations if you would like me to personally help you implement this program. I also offer lesson planning assistance for new teachers. I hope this was helpful and I can't wait to see you in upcoming courses.